Hey guys, Team Trekyards is back, and you know what time it is, Samuel?
Podcast Sunday time?
Damn it, you guessed it. Yes, it is, and it's part two, kind of from carrying over from last week,
Yes.
where we talked about Star Trek Beyond. We wanted to get into some more finer points this time, and just have more of a specific discussion. So
Yes.
let's talk Beyond.
Okay. I like the movie. I mean, I'm happy to talk more about it.
I left you open for that one. Sorry.
Yeah. What do you want to talk about first, Stuart? Because I know, like I said, we did general discussion
Oh.
last time. I think this whole thing is spoilers, so straight away, spoilers are up. Obviously, don't watch this for the first part necessarily unless you've watched the movie, but you're already watching it now because you listened to me say that, so awesome.
But they still have the chance to abort right now. Abort.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Spoilers.
Okay.
But anyway, let's first just talk about the overall story arc.
Okay.
I was. It's kind of what we anticipated going in. Remember, we did the podcast on what we speculated would happen.
I haven't listened to that again, but I remember saying the Enterprise gets destroyed within the first half an hour. Totally right about that. I think we were mostly right about what happened, but I need to re-listen to that and enjoy my naiveness. Like, oh, didn't get that right.
Yeah, well, I speculated a twist with Jayla, and I was wrong. But there was a little bit of a twist all up in there with the captain of the Franklin and whatnot and his crew. So, I mean, I really enjoyed the overall story. I thought it was well written. There were a few plot holes, but nothing that's not typical of every summer blockbuster movie.
Yeah, and we're going to mention those. I think we can run through those later on for the nitpick section. We've got a whole dedicated bit for that.
But yeah, the problem is though with the storyline for me, about halfway through when they were on the bridge of the Franklin talking about whatever, they had some foreshadowing.
Oh yeah.
Which gave it away for me, and that was the image of the Franklin crew on the monitor behind them.
Yeah, it was the mess hall thing. Yeah, when they get their bike.
Yeah, I said to Dave, I bet you any money that's the crew of the Franklin, Crawl and his men. And then he started talking about where he was from and how he was born into a different life. And I'm like, maybe not. So, but yeah, overall, I think it was a great storyline.
Yeah, I've heard lots of reviews online saying it's really simple. There's nothing to it. Think about all the other movies. I mean, come on. The whole plot of Star Trek 1 is V'Ger comes in, they meet V'Ger, it evolves. That's the whole plot. Star Trek 2, bit more, but still, revengey, fly, blowy uppy. Star Trek 3, go find Spock, blows up, escape. That's the plot, guys. Star Trek movies are not... In any film, especially rom-coms and things like that, there's a beginning and there's an end. You know where it's going. So it's not so much about the beginning or the end. It's about the internal. It's about the good dialogue, about the good visuals. I enjoyed the story. It did just what I wanted to do, stuff I wasn't expecting, and was so... My highest compliment to the story is that everything flowed like an absolute smooth lead to the next thing. The other two films, not so much. They had stop-starts. The pace wasn't quite right. In this film, it was so smooth, and you don't judge... I don't judge negativity, the things you think are as bad, the plot holes, because it still sets them up. It still flows so well, and not in like a... Oh, now we're at Kronos, moves one room to the other, now we're at Earth. It's like, okay, it's smooth, dumb as hell. Whereas the Franklin, if there's a time gap between getting from the planet to the starbase, guess what? You see them flying for a little bit. You reset up where they are, and then doesn't matter if it's the next scene, because you know what? You've seen them move. It works. It's so... squeaky clean in that, and I really appreciate that given how the other two did not do that as well. So I was absolutely fine with the story. I liked the older ship. I liked how the first micro story was actually part of the bigger story. I like the Yorktown part. I mean, I think the story was good. It certainly isn't one of the best Trek stories, but there isn't that many great Trek stories. I think the Star Trek 6 sort of story is a bit better. Well, I don't like the Repente stuff. These are not the... Like you said before, it's the character moments, it's the dialogue. That is what makes this story better, because it feels so tangibly good within the simple story, But certainly more of a story than the previous two films, I think.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I mean, it's sort of simpler, but it worked so much better. Apart from the first one had less story, the second one had probably more story, maybe, with the fact they had to go somewhere. But no, I think less. No, probably less. It's hard to say. They're not big story movies.
No. And the whole thing you just said is basically why I don't mind seeing spoilers for movies. I don't mind if I get a spoiler for a movie because, yes, basically, like you said, it's got a beginning, it's got an end. You basically know how these movies are going to go. Your heroes are at the beginning, and then they have some kind of crisis, and then they come out fine at the end.
And so, they all die, and it's like, wait, what? That's not how movies work. No, yeah. They don't die.
It's the parts in between how they get there and how they move from thing to thing that excites me. So I don't even care if I know spoilers for what happens at the end of a movie. I've never had a problem with that personally.
Yeah, I don't like being spoiled because I like seeing it fresh the first time the way it should be seen. But that takes us straight on to the villain, Kral. What do you think of the villain?
Woo.
And dare I ask the question above that: is he a villain or just an antagonist? Because sometimes they're not necessarily like Vija's not the villain; it's an antagonist.
I'd say he's more of an antagonist. I would have preferred it better if he wasn't Kral. If he was just the captain of the Franklin that had still looked like him, but kind of deformed a little bit from whatever. I didn't like the twist. I thought it was kind of stupid. I think it was a twist for a twist's sake. You could take Kral totally out of that picture and have it be the captain of the Franklin that's your antagonist instead of Kral. That's what I got out of it. I didn't think that twist was really necessary. I think it was trying to be cleverer than it actually needed to be to do that personally. Now, it kind of pulls in the whole alien artifact thing, and I kind of get it, but at the same time, I don't know. He's such a good actor. He didn't need to be behind makeup, first of all. That kind of bugged me.
One thing I do like about the villain is that it's all integrated into that world, into the self-contained universe they create of this movie. There's advanced alien tech, drones, this technology. Like, it's more advanced than we've seen before in these certain ways. So why wouldn't it be able to do this to him? They build the universe. As opposed to Into Darkness, beam across the universe. Why do you need starships? Why don't you just follow them? There's rules you build and there's rules you sort of don't build. I agree with you in the sense that I think I would have preferred it. Kral is a weird one because I think he's brilliant at the start. He comes in, he's set up so quickly, which is amazing. He's not unbeatable. He's just a guy, but he leads them, which is great. He's not this, he's not this big weird Nero, and he's not this super powerful. Like, he has as much more real feel than either of the other two villains.
Yeah.
And then what I don't like about him, I think I agree with you there. The fact that his speech patterns are so naff, English word, rubbish, he's slowly becoming more and more human as the movie goes on, more and more himself, but it takes so long to get to a point where he's the character of the other guy that he's, you're right, he's the Kral character, and then at the end he's the Franklin captain. But imagine if he had all his marbles, and he was a Franklin captain at the start, if he was completely cogent, but actually, I know it's been a long time, but if he was still there, imagine if he was the Star Trek 6. Imagine if he was the Chang, still eloquent, still amazing, and yet stealing people's life force and enjoying it. Maybe he takes sanity from them. He always stays okay. All his crew are really still there. And then it's revealed. Then the reveal will be more like, I am the captain of the. It's like, shit. But but the acting is always there, rather than this sort of monster become more and more human, which I liked. But if it had been a cogent villain from the start, or as I'd said in the last review, that when you hear loads of mechanical noises and you see the suit moving, I assumed, because Idris Elba said there's no makeup, that there is no makeup. He's in a suit. Take the face apart, Total Recall style, and it's him. I assumed that could be a possibility as well, or a drone or something. So the way they did it was a bit odd. I love the fact that he got less and less makeup as it went on. That I thought was a lovely little thing. Although he should have been himself at the end, not half. Like, fully commit, fully alien, and then fully human, because he looked weird. And like you say, honestly, that was a waste of Idris Elba because he is a good actor. Yeah. And to have him say, I am going to steal. Like, okay, great. And literally anyone could do that,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly my thought.
So yeah, that would have been. Yeah, that would have been rewarding if right at the end when he comes out of the Franklin, he looked completely normal, but like rather than moving like swaying, just completely like he's there. Does the Picard, thing. He's 100% there. That would be more scary. But I like that. I like that he did evolve or de-evolve. That was kind of cute.
The one thing I really liked about the villain per se in this is when we first see them, it's the swarm ship where it breaks apart into the swarm. You're like, oh shit, and it just decimates the Enterprise in a matter of minutes. that never happens. I mean, that really impressed me and grabbed me right away. But yeah, as for, go ahead.
Well, the nearest two equivalents are, Star Trek 2, phasers, there's damage, but the ship's still intact. And then Nemesis, weapons, and then crash, but it's still completely intact. And then, yeah, I mean, I loved, because I always say stories should have a realism of A to B equals C. These things can rip through shields. They want to destroy the ship, they destroy the ship. And it was quick, easy, effective, made perfect sense, and it was visually great. And the way they did it as well was really very clever. They're trying to impulse, and I loved that they were trying to get the impulse engines back online, and that was such a TOS Trek thing to do. Do the tech approach, and then no, let's just shunt their power, and that just and then source of separation. That's
to see a big screen saucer separation was awesome.
That's how you do a Trek film. They think things through. It's step by step by step, like that. Just by having them using intelligent strategies to solve a problem, they seem cleverer, and the film makes more sense. Again, Into Darkness, the plan is go to Cronus and blow them up with long-range missiles. Wow, that's not very Star Trek, is it? As opposed to, let's reroute powered impulse, get out of there, and this all separate. I mean, compare the scenes,
Exactly, yeah. Anyway, so the villain was kind of F for me. I mean, you liked him, though? You thought he was good?
I liked overall. The idea of him being the captain was great.
Mm.
The fact that it wasn't spoiled was awesome, and the fact that they only showed those few clips of him, very careful to show him as the makeup, so when he starts to lose the makeup, that was nice. But I do think it should have at the end been fully human. That would have been way more impactful, rather than the 1 second on screen they freeze frame and it's him. That was silly, because overall, I mean, again, we need to do a full podcast about this, but is he the best out of the 3 JJ villains, and how does he compare to the other villains of Trek? Because, I mean, in terms of his reasoning, well, I'm sure is corrupt and weird. I mean, he's doing it for a genuine reason that's sort of understandable beyond revenge. There's other levels, sort of, maybe, and also insanity, and also I don't know. I feel his pain more. Ironically, I feel his pain more than Nero, who just had his entire planet destroyed. How weird is that?
I disagree, though. I think his motivations were very clouded and nonsensical, in my opinion, personally.
Well, they weren't clear, but he's also not a clear person. I mean, that's why he's not trying to destroy things. He's trying to, I think, did he say he's trying to build? I mean, that's always the classic annoying thing. It's funny. Arrow, the show Arrow, and another show at the same time both had a storyline where somebody was going to try and destroy half the world so people could rise from the ashes and be stronger, because people, flourish in war, which is true. And here I see it in this again. It's if I destroy the Federation, almost, they'll come out stronger. It's fantastic. Don't do that. I mean, stop. I mean, we didn't get better from the Dominion War. We didn't get better from the Zindi War. Photon torpedoes. They already existed. Come on, we already have photon torpedoes. They were new.
You mean quantums, don't you?
No, the Zindi War. They got them in season 3.
Oh, gotcha.
They already had them to refit. They didn't invent them during the... Anyway. And same with Dominion War. Nothing came about from the Dominion War, maybe, apart from Prometheus, maybe. But it takes years to build things, and the Dominion War's only 3 years, so... Sorry, tangent. So, he wasn't so much villainous, he was trying to kill people, but, again, if you could think big plan, imagine if killing that one starbase had genuinely made the Federation... I mean, okay, you can say this. Nero coming through, forcing Trek to change the direction... Bigger ships, faster ships, more technological, more weapons, more crew, more aliens. I mean, come on. Technically speaking, because of Nero's interference, that universe is far further ahead. So, in a sense, he's right. And we've proof of that. So imagine if they'd done it again. If he had been the new threat of the galaxy, they might have pushed ahead. It's horrible. But hey.
Interesting. You thought about it more than I did, obviously. I just didn't like it.
Apparently. I just saying stuff, really.
Anyway, okay, so let's get off the villain for a second. Let's move on to highlights, what we liked about the movie.
Yes, best bit sort of thing.
All right, I got a few real quick ones off the top of my head. First is the shots of the Enterprise, the JJ Prize. Really blew me away. The way they were filmed, the CGI was incredible. It looked realistic. It made the JJ Prize look beautiful.
Yeah.
Which
says
is not
something.
easy to do. Yeah. Also, the opening scene with Kirk, very TOS offering a peace treaty, and that little twist with their little creatures. That was awesome. I could see that being in a TOS episode had they had the budget to do that back then. But yeah, it was very Kirk and the whole rip my shirt thing. I think that was great. Nice little tie-ins. And all the little nods to the original TOS crew. The little picture of the original crew brought a tear to my eye. It didn't trickle down. I caught it. I stepped in some feelings, but I wiped that shit off. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm,
So those little nods were great as a, thank you to the Star Trek fans. The new ships, the Franklin, the Yorktown, the Enterprise A, all that new tech was amazing. I loved it all. I know the Franklin was old tech, but you know what I mean, to see new inclusions.
Mm-hmm.
And two more things real quick.
Cool.
Oh, one more thing. Sorry. I don't know if you noticed, there were a lot of aliens in this movie.
A lot of aliens, yeah.
50 new aliens. You know why? For the 50th anniversary of Star Trek. I don't know if you knew that. 50 new alien species were represented just visually as a 50th anniversary gift.
But were any original aliens? Were there any Romulans, any Tholians, any Tellarites, any Andorians? That's one thing these movies don't do well. They don't represent the classics, because I know there's always new ones, but for the most part they're like Star Wars aliens. This movie did a better job though, to be fair. But how cool would it be to see Andorians walking around? Like, show us the things we know are the founders of the Federation, please, for goodness sake.
Yeah, but at the same time, the last two movies we've been saying, JJ, do your own thing. Don't rehash all the old stuff.
Yeah, but as background people, I don't like his cyborg on the bridge. I mean, if you're gonna make 50 aliens, it's like the Star Wars cantina in Force Awakens. Why are they all new aliens? You've got a plethora of species. For goodness sake, pick the ones we love, because they're everywhere. Like, why aren't they? Yeah.
It's like we're watching Deep Space Nine now, and you see it all the time. You see Packlids on the walking in the background.
Perfect example. Yeah.
You see a whole bunch of alien species you already know, and it's just not nice little subtle passing by. Yeah. 2 seconds. That's all you need.
Not important, but they show they're there, because we've literally only seen humans and Klingons don't even look correct-ish. I guess Romulans, but there's a future Romulans anyway. So we've only ever seen 3 races and 1 a prime, and Vulcan, I suppose. Okay, cool. Is that the 50-50 is beautiful. I mean, there's some better designs in this one. I thought they were more Trek. The aliens in this one, I was more digging them. Is that your list? Your highlights?
That's it for now, unless I think
beautiful set. I feel I'm going to steal a few. I agree with all of them. Let's start off with that. But I'll just throw. Hey, we think alike. Yeah, Enterprise JJ did a really good job, because they were. I get the feeling they didn't just throw the ship in and say, this is the scene. Let's put 2 and 2 together. They said, right, the ship is moving from A to B. How do we make it look cinematic and do something different, like having shots really far away, have the gorgeous, no light, having it the wide angle. I mean, these things are like, they approach the ship as a spaceship. As we always say, the ship is a character. They approached it the way it should have been, rather than just the transport mechanism. Because you felt some, I mean, the fact that we're saying this, and the fact that I felt like the very first shot, I was like,
I felt bad when the ship got destroyed, and it's the JJ prize. I thought I'd be happy, but it looked so beautiful just prior to that. And then to destroy it. I'm
hoping the next one, you should see a fleet of them, and now you can argue the old ones are flying around, because, hey, the 12 Connies, let's have some more Connies. They're not Constitution class, but let's have some more of those flying around. Why not? Yeah, the intro scene, pitch perfect. I laughed. It sets the tone. The first space shot and then that first scene is like, this is going to be a good movie. They get it. The references were gorgeous. Those how you should do references. The last 2 films didn't work. A couple were nice. But when you're trying to do references and you don't feel, that's awesome. They're not done right. These were so well done. I mean, just at the end, just the last scene is Chekhov saying, this is in Russia. I'm like, they got a Russia. They got it from Russia.
Yes, Scotch was invented by a little old lady in Russia. Yes.
Yeah, that's the. I mean, people will still laugh at that, maybe, hopefully, but for us, that's just perfect. And like I said last time, the ripping shirt was absolutely amazing. And then you saw in Brandy, the references to the I mean, honestly, some of my favourite moments are they reference the Zindian-Romulan War. The Zindi.
Yes.
Thank goodness. Finally. Because they obviously paid attention to canon in this one. I said previously that the Franklin reference. What's it armed with? Pulse phase cannons and spatial torpedoes. Hey, guess what? The NX-01 launched with spatial torpedoes and phase cannons. But you know what? It first launched with pulse phase cannons because they fire in pulses. Someone had to research that because it had phases, phone torpedoes. They were for pre-NX-01 tech. That's a great reference. It's memory alpha-able, That's what you should be doing. Sorry, and Brandy, I laughed at because I know that's the thing that we, for the video I did for you for your birthday, Sorry, and Brandy. That's because it's mentioned. That's the thing with Trek. Beautiful references, really made it feel integrated. I mean, they're 3 years in, they should be the people we know, roughly, and you finally got a sense of that, which is what you should do.
Yes.
Other highlights. Franklin was amazing. Yorktown wasn't very Star Trek. It was more other sci-fi, because it was a Dyson sphere, it was a small Dyson sphere. I mean, look at Space Dock, look at this, and it's like, oh.
Well, it wasn't
damn,
a
Space Dock
has a sun in the center of it, so
that was just because it was a circle, really. But look at Space Dock, which we know is more advanced than this, or at least in our timeline. 20 years later they make the Space Dock, and yet they've got this thing. I know they're more advanced in tech than our timeline, but it's like, geez, so much more advanced, clearly. K7 around that time period. Oh, look, you can build that. I know it's the most advanced thing out there, but it's just
that's good points.
When you keep pushing tech ahead, it's like, damn, TOS could never build anything like that, never. But gorgeous.
Yes.
Oh, but I kind of feel like that was more like a Deep Space Nine, though, because you saw different alien races. It was like a melting pot of people. Like, I don't think it was just a space station for Starfleet. That's the impression I got. Source separation was great. That was such a nice nod. And I think non-Trek fans were like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, straight away. So one big thing I like about this movie was, I said it earlier, the smoothness. There doesn't feel like any contrived story plots per se. It wasn't just throwing something in. I love that Franklin has a transporter. How do they get the crew out? They transport them. That's what you would do. It makes sense. Said that in the last part, but that's how you should be doing things. Like, they just logically thought out the situation. I loved that. And my favourite moment of the entire film, apart from the Xindi Romulan War reference, because that makes Romulan War still canon, which means it did happen, which means that the NX-01 timeline theoretically did still not exist, and then whatever it means that stuff happened. I love that. My favourite moment of the film was easily right at the end. You've got new Spock, look at old Spock stuff, and he opens the photo box, as you already said earlier, and it sort of fades in, tech fades in, this picture of the crew, and the music is, Trek music, and right there at the end, I got teary, because it's like, they are now canon in the JJ universe. Like, old Spock is fine, but like, Nichelle Nichols is now canon in that universe. It's no longer this, it's nonsense. That crew exists. They're universally that crew. I felt such that is the truest respect.
Absolutely.
And I was like, really emotional, and I think I looked to mum and dad who were next to me. I don't think they weren't as much, but I was just like, that is the best thing, and that really got me. And that was the best thing, because finally, I don't think JJ would have ever done that. Honestly, I don't think he would ever have said, oh, let's have a picture of the original crew. No,
No, I don't think so.
And just having that link was gorgeous. I know my dad doesn't like those uniforms as much, but you never really see them together like that, except that was a Star Trek 5 picture, because it's the way it was formatted. But just that was really lovely, and more so than just saying at the end, for Leonard, for Yelton. Just that image was more powerful to me. So that was my favourite bit at the moment by far. So yeah. But I mean, I like lots of the film. There was a lot of good stuff. I think basically the stuff you mentioned. I'll probably think of stuff after the fact. I need to watch it again. This is the thing. I need to watch it again to really highlight those little moments. But that was the best moment. Put me not necessarily in tears, but really got me going. So yeah.
Cool. All right. So now nitpicks. Things you didn't like. Do you want to do lists, or do you want to do back and forth?
Back and forth. Go for it.
My biggest problem with the movie.
Oh, straight biggest one. Okay.
Wow. One of the biggest.
Okay.
The Franklin could not possibly rescue the entire crew of the Enterprise. I know they probably didn't all survive, but the Franklin is so small. It's only a couple decks. It would not be able to save like 100 people. You know what I mean? I don't know how many were left from the original Enterprise crew, but that's one of my biggest things. I mean, it's minor. It's minor when you're looking at these kind of movies. You just want to get everybody off the planet.
But they do so well in this movie. They do so well to make that sort of mistake. I mean, I'll address that sort of straight away. Assuming there's 450 people, that's a Connie crew. This ship's twice the size of Connie, so more realistically, it's 600, or at least 500. I mean, you're looking at more.
I've heard 1,000 for the crew.
Okay, so let's say 800. Let's 800 people.
Yes.
There were escape pods in secondary hull, I believe, or they're just in the primary. I can't remember.
I don't know. I don't think I saw any from the
I don't think I
secondary.
saw either. So assume that all the engineering crew mostly has been killed. A lot of them. Although then Scotty would be in engineering hull, wouldn't he? And he
Yes,
got
but
escape
he
pods.
escaped in a torpedo.
Torpedo. Good point. Yeah. So let's assume you lost at least 100 people in engineering hull, at least. And let's assume. I mean, you're saying at least half will die just from explosions, just from people coming out. So say cut it down to 400. So already you've just now got the crew of the Connie.
Yes.
They all escape pod out. You know, let's say some went way off to the other side of the planet because there's no reason they'd all be picked up by Kral.
Well, some of the
Necessarily.
escape pods got destroyed by swarm ships too. They got wiped out.
So let's take out another half. Let's be generous on the death total. So 400, 200. Let's say Kral took most of them. Let's say 150. That's still being low. We're really pushing it down. He has a cage. He has 3 cages full of 50 people each. Or I said 20 at a time. Let's say it's all. I mean, you're not going to keep 150 people in one cage, are you? That's like, 6 school classrooms. Imagine that many
Probably be
people.
more comfortable than putting them all in the Franklin.
True. So say he drained you say all of his crew drained their life force because why not? Say another 20 died. Still looking at over 100. And they said 20 at a time. I mean, I'm fine to say 100 to fit in the Franklin because you've got cargo. It's a cargo ship, cargo space. That's fine. I mean, there's a great scene in Stargate SG-1 where they're on the Daedalus and they're in the middle of space, I believe. Or they're trying to rescue some people. I think it's 2 Daedaluses, and they say, we need to rescue more people. And they say it's not a space problem; it's an oxygen problem. Our oxygen recycling system is designed for this many people. Like, just because you can fit 2,000 doesn't mean you can have air for 2,000 people. It's a cargo ship. It won't have the air processing facilities to be able to have 400 people on the ship, if it even have the space. I mean, tech only goes so far, because it's recycling, it's not making it out of thin air. You can't necessarily do that, necessarily. So I'm fine with about 100. My only issue with that, space-wise, they should have had corpses lying everywhere as it went through the hull. Like, 10 people you see dead, while that one, it would have been like, okay, 10 died, the other 90 go off the ship, that's fine. But only seeing one person and a crowd of people running away, it's like, Or at least say, Captain, most of the crew are gone. Aye. or the captain says, or Kirk says, Scotty, how many have you got? Oh, lad, I only managed to get about 100 of them. It's like, but there's only 100 left of us. Yes. And it's like, oh no. And then you feel, damn, Kral really massacred them. That would have made it feel way more like the stakes. Because then, imagine, as opposed to, we saved the entire crew, they're all being fit on what essentially is a scout ship. Imagine if you'd had the entire movie, you lost 90% of the crew, you make that feel, and it's like the last survivors of the crew are zooming out of there, and if they get killed, that's the entire Enterprise crew dead. That would have been so much more impactful, just have a few lines of dialogue.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's great addition. I like that.
So that was one nitpick for you. One nitpick. I have the same nitpick, obviously. I mean, my big one, I think, is how close the nebula is. Because the way, again, one viewing, the way I remember the film is, they're on this planet, they warp to the Yorktown, they dock at the Yorktown, they leave the Yorktown, you see the nebula literally in the same solar system. Because later in the film, you see the Yorktown in the shot, and you see the nebula. So it's sublightable, So why would they build the space station next to a nebula they never explored? It's like saying, let's build... It's like if they said, here, we've got this wormhole to the Gamma Quadrant, let's build a space station next to it without exploring the Gamma Quadrant. Just to, I'm sure there's nothing wrong at the other end of this wormhole.
You'd want to build an outpost, a small outpost, but you wouldn't want to have civilians living next to something unknown like that. Exactly.
The creme de la creme of Starfleet, they've said that, next to an uncharted nebula, which apparently has lots of space in it, because he says, we can now go explore, we found our way through. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked that it wasn't warp, because I don't buy they got the Franklin's warp engine back online. I don't buy that. I do not buy the swarm ships have warp. I do not buy that. I mean, you've seen them. You've got a little cockpit bit and a little undercarriage for hostages and things, because they're drone people. They're not designed for physical people to fly them,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could probably fit a warp, maybe. Like, we've seen future warps. And I guess it's a more advanced technology species. I mean, you could probably say warp 1, warp 2. I guess you could push it like, you got the Cardassian warp torpedo, and that's, fine. But I mean, I would rather them all just be weapons than warp capable starships, you know. So I wish they just said it's in the same area. Like an explanation would have been nice. That's the small thing.
Okay. Well, now for my next one, which is probably my last one.
Mhm.
There are other minor ones, but this is a technical one.
Mhm.
I tend to look at things technically.
Mhm.
The Franklin is small, does not have a shuttle bay. We know that from speaking to Sean.
Mhm.
All it had was cargo transporters,
Yes.
so nothing, no personal transporters. So how are they supposed to get off the ship? No shuttles, no transporters. The ship, did it land?
I
I know
assume
I've seen
so.
pictures of it with landing gear, but
Well, it's well. Hmm.
it's something we should probably ask Sean
Well,
when we speak to him.
if you think about it, though, functionally speaking, it's built in orbit. You obviously take a travel pod to it because you can do that in motion picture. They've obviously got. I'm assuming there's a door somewhere.
Mhm.
You dock, you board, you fly, you transport cargo away, and you undock. I mean,
But what if you're out in the unknown and you have to get to a planet's surface to save your crew because the ship's life support fails?
well, I mean, yeah. Then you crash horribly, and then you get out. I mean, well, they say it's built for vertical. I mean, the whole point is built for vertical takeoff. So I mean, it's I would have assumed it was absolutely one of the few built for planetary flight. You know, although
Yeah.
I mean we don't see it do vertical takeoff, and obviously, you know that Sean has told it's vertical. We see it in the movie. It can't. You know, it has to drop to then go up. But I'm assuming it's too damaged to do that.
Well,
Yeah,
something that ties in with that. That's another nitpick that wasn't going to say, but I just remembered.
yeah, go for it.
Why does Krull not remember where his ship is?
Ah, yes, that one. Well, but then
Maybe
he's
the
really
alien tech thing messing with his brain.
well. Think about how I mean he didn't. Well, okay, I'll throw something out there now. I heard dialogue that only about 3 survived, 3 of the crew. That's what I remember hearing. And so someone pointed out yesterday to me that the lady who goes to get them to the nebula, she must be one of the crew because she's an alien. She's like I only remember seeing her, henchman, and Kral. That's 3.
Mhm, mhm.
But the fact is that she couldn't speak English, or at least refused to speak English. They had to translate for her, and she never spoke English herself. So that implies that this tech does affect you. And if they've been there, I mean, what's that going to be 100-ish, 80 years? If it's affecting you that much to lose English, Kral obviously has a bit more of himself, you know, whatever. I mean, they clearly weren't themselves, you know, so I
Yeah.
can sort of buy. And they've got all this advanced technology. They've got this armada of swarm ships. Why would you go for a glorified cargo ship? You know, I mean, I guess, you know, if you had an old car that you didn't like, you parked it 10 miles away, how often are you going to go visit it when you've got a Ferrari? Even if one of your kids escapes the room,
That's
the
true,
house,
and they didn't necessarily know that J-Lo was staying on their old ship. So yeah, I guess that makes sense.
if one of your kids leaves the room, you're not going to assume she's headed to the car because you know it doesn't work. You know, I mean, they're not clearly who they are. I want to know though what happened to her crew and what happened to her ship that was. I mean, how many crews has he taken hostage? How many other survivors? I mean, it would have been nice to see other aliens prisoners. That would have been kind of cool. Well, I
we
guess
did see the two that confronted Scotty that J-Lo had to help.
yeah.
Him. They had escaped, I guess. Where's their crew? Where did she find the technology to cloak the ship?
That's probably one of my biggest nitpicks because I can buy he wasn't thinking about the ship because it doesn't work really. I mean, she fixed it. She was been there for at least a few months, if not years. You know, to escape, find a ship, and not be so traumatized that she can then operate and be a kick-ass warrior. Like that takes a bit of time to recover. You know, but yeah, where do you find ultra advanced? I mean, look at Enterprise. I guess it's alien tech, sure, but they don't have holograph, so it's not part of the Franklin. They had to be somewhere else. And I'm totally fine by saying this alien race has holograms, but you're saying that she had to know what holograms were to know how to operate them, because she fixes a lot of technology. She has to be at least Franklin tech level or higher knowledge, minimum, to be able to fix it. You know, she's not saying a lot, and XL1 wasn't very advanced, considering. And then finds holographic projectors, have just enough to completely cloak the ship perfectly. That's some advanced technology. I mean, we don't really have that. I mean, TOS hasn't got necessarily, especially in the main canon, hasn't got holographic technology like that. You know, so I don't know that. Yeah, that's pretty coincidental tech to have.
Wow, it's just, and those are little nitpicks that are just basically summer blockbuster movie nitpicks. Every movie has little things like that. You're like, what?
Although, I mean, this is yet another movie where you have another death weapon. You know, you had obviously. I think it sort of started with Nemesis. You have Shinzon's death beam, Thadron particles. So they're particles. Then you have Nero, red matter, which is not a weapon per se, but red matter. And then darkness, you have the Vengeance as the most powerful ship ever invented. Now in this one, again, you have a bioweapon. So they are going through the plethora of mass weapons here. But, I mean, why would this alien race... I don't know, whatever. Isn't it? Thing is, I'm fine with it, though, because it's an alien planet. Like, they can do whatever you want on it. They didn't break their own rules. Like, it's super advanced. Awesome. Yeah. Like, once you set up the rules, it makes sense. Like I said, the plot went pretty smoothly. I was happy with most things. I think though with this film we finally got a real sense of scale for Enterprise. Like we saw the shuttles left off. We saw them commit to the big scale. I think
that was something else that bugged me. Thank you for mentioning it. In the one scene of the crew, you see an NX style shuttle pod landing.
Ah, that's
where did
funny,
that come from? Because the Franklin doesn't have shuttles.
I mean, in the playback?
Yes.
Well, that was easy. I mean, I assumed, because it's pre-NX-01, so that's a pre-NX-01 shuttle pod. I assume troop carrier. So, although, no, that doesn't make sense, because presumably they were post-Mako, so that would be post-NX-01, so I guess that's the next version. But my assumption was that they were just left the ship, someone was recording it, because they're now off duty, and someone's just, they're on a planet somewhere, and some shuttle flies down. I mean, it wasn't one of their shuttles, it was just a shuttle at the base they were at. That was my assumption.
Okay.
That's why it sort of was NX shaped, as in shuttle pod shaped, but not the same. Which I can't. That was a nice bit of continuity. Actually, question: what did you think of the uniforms? Because they were the post NX-01, pre TOS. You could tell that because of the colours, and they had little zips there, which were NX-01 zips. What do you think of the uniforms?
I thought they were cool. I really liked them.
Yeah, that was nice.
I've always liked the costuming though for the JJ movies, and that was a nice tie-in. Yeah, loved it.
Yeah, it was. I think it was a little bit. There could have been a little bit more. Could have been a little bit more jumpsuity, because the Franklins lost around 63, Federation's 61, and we see Kirk's uniform at that time. It's the exact same uniform, just a different collar and I think different ranky stuff there. So I guess they're the first. Actually, I guess they'd be the first Federation uniforms, wouldn't they? Logically, because. Yeah, so that is the official first Federation uniform. Yeah, okay.
Huh. Interesting. Never thought of that, but yeah.
Yeah. I kind of dig them. I mean, they're okay. They still got the patches, NX-1 patches. They got the colours of TOS. God, do you think the designers, like costume designers, really thought to themselves, we're actually building the very first United Federation of Planets Starfleet uniforms? Because that's what they are. Wow.
That's deep, man.
Okay, so next bit, let's talk briefly about the Franklin and then the Yorktown and Enterprise A. So Franklin, what do you think about her fully on screen then? Or do you want me to cover these first?
I'll just say something real quick. The Franklin's a really amazing little ship. I like it. Originally, as we talked, we know it was supposed to be upside down. Yeah. Which I like. I like that look. But I think it's great. I think it's a fantastic addition to the fleet, and the fact that Sean didn't actually use any other ships as influence for that. He just kind of did his own thing. I think is cool. I mean, I liked it.
Because we have a full episode on it coming, so we can't say too much, can we?
Yeah, that's why I kind of hesitated there for a second when I'm like, eh. But I think anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, it was a lovely little ship. I think it just about fits in. Just like, the Orbeth and the Miranda and like some other stylistic things, like just like the Bird of Prey from Star Trek 4. It's like 3. Sorry, it's like 4. It's like the scale changes 3 times in the movie. But you know what? That's a movie problem. Like that's just that thing. So it's close enough. You got to take some stylistic. Well, okay, But hey, it was refitted post NX-01, so the bridge is more NX-01 but more advanced. Whatever. There's reasons. I mean. It worked for the most part for me. I wish we'd seen more of it. I wish we'd seen engineering. properly, not the sort of
Mhm.
damaged rebuild. Because I mean, you gotta remember everything in that ship is old and broken, and she's repaired it, not knowing what the ship does. So it doesn't look, apart from the bridge, which is almost spotless. The rest of the ship, it doesn't represent how it would look. Neither as a paint scheme or anything. So that was interesting. But no, great ship. The Yorktown, fun station, not as Star Trek as I said, very Mass Effect-y, very other sci-fi. Like, that could be in any sci-fi movie or show and work. That said, it was still a lovely addition to the Trek universe. Bit too advanced, but for this universe works just fine. And the visual, when you see it, that first pan inside was glorious. Beautiful integration with Dubai, really worked well. I would totally live there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
It was cool to have that Star Trek 3 tie-in as well. And I don't like the fact that JJ movies do that personally, but to have the ship approaching space dock, as it were, and entering, and that slow reveal, and then to see the coolest part for me was the water and having the ship underneath the water.
That was beautiful, inspired. That was inspired.
Yes, that was beautiful.
And again, an easy reason for it to like come out of the water at the end, and then like that was it. It made sense. Like there wasn't a whatever, And then Enterprise A, we do a full episode on her in a little bit, but brief thoughts about the Enterprise 1701A brackets JJ verse. Sorry, double brackets Kelvin timeline.
I like it. I like it. Yeah. You know why I like it? Because they fixed almost everything that I thought was wrong with it. The shape of the pie plate saucer, I prefer much better.
Well, I think the fact that all those things have been fixed meant that the consensus in the Trek community is they were problems. They are now fixed.
Yes.
You don't refit all the problems out unless you realize they're all the problems.
Yeah.
Has to be said.
Yeah. Smaller nacelles, spaced properly apart, thank God. I would have kind of liked to see an orange Bizarre collector, but the blue works for me still. That's fine. It's a minor nitpick thing.
That's their thing. That defines
exactly.
JJ era. I'm fine with that.
But overall, I think it's a great looking ship, and I'm very happy with the new Enterprise.
I want to point out those that will say, oh, you didn't like the Ralph McCoy Enterprise. Why did you like the Discovery? Oh, you didn't like the JJ Prize. Why are you liking the A? It's the same ship. We can the Constitution class and the Phase 2 Enterprise, almost all the same shapes, but they're different ships. The subtleties can change a lot of your opinion. So it's sort of the same ship, but they fix the things you didn't like. So therefore you like it now. And we're honest, just because it's a JJ Prize or A or the Lynn Prize or the Sean Prize, whichever. Subtle changes. I mean, you can like the runabout with the extra pod and not like the standard runabout.
Mm-hmm.
You like Miranda as a Soyuz, but not as a Reliant. I mean, there's
And the Phase 2 Enterprise is a perfect example. I love the TOS Connie. It's my favorite ship. But I hate the Phase 2 Enterprise. I think it's hideous with those struts and those engines. Small, minor things. Exactly.
So I think it's perfectly valid to say that. I do think it's a great improvement. I love the time-lapse at the end. I mean, that just to have the emotional Spock reveal thing, had the party, which is nice, lovely references, let's get out there, great. And then this amazing CG sequence. I mean, that's a reveal. I love that. Really, really nice. Really set the tone. Again, visually, that is cinematography doing its job. That's a proper cinematographer properly planning things and properly executing them. That's how you make a movie.
And to be perfectly fair, they could have just had it under construction and gone to credits. And have to wait to the next movie to see it completed, which would have really pissed me off.
And as a CG artist, that is an amazingly difficult thing to make. I mean, because you're building it in fast frames, but you still have to you still have to render all the parts because you got to do it. So if that's a time lapse, I mean, that would take months to make. And it was so good. I think one of my highlights for that was that the bridge module slides in. Bridge modules,
as it's supposed
awesome.
to. Yeah.
As it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And I want to see other details. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I want to see it move because the proportions are very different. I sort of got used to the old proportions, and I was fine with everything just about apart from the nacelle struts. That I agree with you completely. So now the saucer feels very big compared to the engines, and we'll see for full renders later on. They're coming out soon or already out. Already out now.
Yeah, they'll be out.
So we'll talk about them later. But I'm not sure I'm 100% sold on how the nacelles they get so thin at the back. Like how exactly they thin out. Because now the other I'll have to see it in more than one angle or one very quick angle. I mean, come on, see it once in the movie theater. You have to take it all in, and I'm good at that. It's spaceships, but still, looking forward to seeing. I want what I say about this movie is they did such a good job with this film. Let's make a fourth one.
Yes.
They now deserve a fourth one. Like the first one was like, oh okay, let's see if we do the second one. Let's see
if we can fix it.
Yeah, the first movie was okay. That was what it was. Fine. The second movie, okay, they're gonna do something original. They're gonna do something cool. Oh damn! They just did a. Okay, damn! They chose to do that. Okay, great. What they do for the third one, neither of us cared as much. Blow us away. Beautiful. They've now creatively earned. I want to know what happens to them next, story wise. Let's see this new ship. Let's get Carol Marcus back. Let's get. I wouldn't even mind if you had now the Genesis subplot. Let's have Carol. We've already met Carol. We know they have some chemistry. Now let's have the Enterprise A go to Genesis and do that thing. Like now let's tell. Now you've now set up everything at the correct amount. I've said before, if this was the first movie, they could have had so many great stories after this. Because the first two weren't about stories; they were about visuals. This was about story, and about the characters, and about the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Now they can go forward with stories. They can go anywhere from here. But I'm happy for them if they took a classic storyline because now they took an original idea, they've now earned a remake of an old idea, absolutely. But done, the thinnest thing of Genesis device, totally different story,
And
all for that.
I think the next one will be either a mirror universe story, or a time travel story because we know Chris Hemsworth has signed on to it to be George Kirk. It could be a flashback scene, but I'm suspecting that it's going to be a mirror universe and or a time travel story. It could be very lighthearted like Star Trek 4, very crew focused and not really a villain per se. But I think that's what I'm looking forward to is a mirror universe of this universe. I think that'd be fantastic.
Well, you've got to, what you've got to remember is these actors get more expensive as the years go on. Every film under their belt ups their money, charging. So every film you've got to assume is your last. And while I hope to get a number 4, I know it's announced, but they can cancel it. I know Chris Hemsworth is announced. Doesn't mean his contract signed.
No.
And they can easily cancel. I mean, that really, until you know that under production, it's not under production. I mean, the Stargate movies, they had everyone signed on, they had the scripts written, then it was cancelled. I mean, so bringing it back to Kirk is interesting because now they've set James T. Kirk as James T. Kirk. He is now the man he should be, but younger. That's fine. So I like the idea of having mirror Kirk. I mean, that's a very natural in terms of big screen. The mirror universe is such a glorious big screen reason. Have a mirror, and then you're really showing parallel timelines because then you've got, the parallel. That's awesome. Have a mirror Kirk, have mirror Kelvin, or even have the Constitution class, have the Gabriel Enterprise, have a very very true Connie with a mirror other Kirk, or a Saladin or TOS Miranda, have a very classic TOS vibe, but a mirror, give it those give it those pincers, give it the mirror universe treatment. Would look gorgeous, or have it as a flashback, or time travel as easy as anything in Trek. We know just go around the sun. Have Kirk go back and try and save his dad. I would happily see Enterprise A now going back. I mean, how crazy is it to now say the A, which came after the time travel story in the original franchise, have now the A use a slingshot to go back in time to now stop the JJ universe from existing by saving George Kirk? Because hey, why don't you warp in, beam him out? He didn't need to die. Take him out, bring him to the future. How cool would that be?
But then everybody else dies still. Well, no, they wouldn't. They all escaped, I guess.
Yeah, everyone's fine. And his death still created the Kirk we know. But if you beamed him out, it wouldn't affect the timeline at all.
That's interesting.
I don't know. I would love to see the Enterprise A with the crew doing as well as they are, warp into the first scene of 09. Visually, that would be glorious. Just to, I don't know where you'd go from there. I have no idea, and no Borg. Although I like the theory that this planet had drones and tech. I mean, it's really stretching to its Borg, just because it's a tech race. I mean, come on, just don't make everything the Borg, don't make everything Klingons, don't make everything whatever. It's another alien race. It's better that. It's like John Harrison should have been John Harrison, not Khan. Make it its own thing. It straight away becomes better. Yeah. Well, I don't know.
One thing I want to say about the next film too, Chekhov is not being recast. JJ said that, which I think is beautiful. But this is a perfect opportunity then for them to step it up and tie in other Star Trek things. Bring in Lieutenant Eric's from the animated series.
Being
The C-
Savick, sorry.
yeah, the CG now warrants the fact you could do that. You could have a main character that's got 3 limbs and is Lieutenant Eric's. Tie in the animated series. Tie in other Trek lore. Have Emrys from the animated series, the cat lady. Have her. Bring back Carol Marcus, like you said. Have Jayla be a part of the crew now. There's so many possibilities.
Yeah.
There's so many possibilities, and I think
Have Khan as part of the crew. Why not? He's still alive.
Who's
Have
that?
Khan as part of the crew. He's alive.
Yeah, and he's actually a good guy. So yeah,
He's
just
chief
keeping up
engineer.
his crew. Yeah.
Oh, he's Helms officer. Who should replace Chekhov? Khan. What? It's genius.
Yes. It's
I imagine
so
Benedict
genius.
Cumberbatch just on the bridge, just like, Captain, what are your orders, Captain? It's like, punch it. Oh no, he's tactical, isn't he? But just stupid.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So there are a lot of opportunities for them to in the fourth movie to actually branch out now and really become their own entity. They did that with this movie, I think.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
now that was a step in the right direction. Now let's see new stuff, but let's try tie in things we haven't seen on the big screen, maybe. Like I said, Lieutenant Eric's would be awesome. That's what I'm hoping for.
It's a fine balance.
It is a very fine
And
balance.
this one they did great with the balance act. I've got to ask quick little questions because we're running quite long on this. First question: time jump or not? Is it straight after? So it'd be the nebula, some sort of what they find is in the nebula, or jump to year 4, year 5. We've already got the refit, so that we can skip a phase 2 refit. There wouldn't be one, we can assume. So should we skip to year 4, year 5, second 5-year mission?
I think they're gonna skip to after year 5, probably the
Okay.
close of the original 5-year mission and
Okay.
the uncertain future that the crew faces for themselves because their mission is over technically. What's next? And something's gonna happen that'll I don't know.
But I don't want to revisit Kirk being unsure of himself and Spock.
Well, he's not. He wasn't. He was in this one. He wasn't.
No, well, he was a little bit.
But now
But if you're saying then they're unsure about where they're going. No, I want right in the middle. I want another day in the life of story. Like this is just another mission on their mission,
okay,
rather than be their first mission or their last mission or Well, I'm all for. What a great reference would it be if Chekhov's just on the Reliant. They just say, "Oh, how have you took Chekhov? Yeah, he's on the Reliant.
He's been transferred
cool.
to Reliant, and that makes
Yeah,
perfect
it's like,
sense. Yeah.
Oh, cool. That's it. That's that. If you did that, everyone would be like, "Oh, nice." Not sure why, but hey, go for it.
Moving
5 years
along.
early, but he's 10 years younger, so why not?
Yeah.
He's 10 years older. He's 10 years older. Or Kirkson. Anyway, I want a time jump. I want day in the life.
Mm-hmm.
Do their own thing, but if you want to bring in a reference as part of the plot, like the intro ground level, and then do your own thing on top of that,
Yes.
like the Genesis project was started, but it actually was designed as a weapon this time around. Although we don't do a weapon again, but maybe Genesis started, but it was actually stolen by the Klingons.
Or it was a successful project. They've created a
Ooh,
Genesis
that's even better.
planet. They've created the Genesis planet. There's Federation personnel living there.
It's even better.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Actually, yes, good story for number 4, and again, it would be very much, lifted in a sense. But movie starts off. Kirk warps into Genesis planet, and he says, "Captain Log, we have approached Genesis planet." Seeing Carol Marcus, who could not join us in the 5-year mission. And then, oh my God, she's not pregnant anymore because she's had David. That'd be kind of cool. I mean, why not on the planet? And he's having to deal with now he's suddenly a father, and then
that could tie in his dad. It could be a flashback. It could be now that he's a father. Something happens time travel wise. He goes back and meets his dad. I don't know. That's perfect. Yeah, I love that.
And then the Genesis planet is just there. That's where Carol is because she was great. Bring her back in. But she's now clever because she's done it successfully. Why not? Maybe the Klingons then come in because it'd be nice to maybe not crew, maybe whatever. Maybe the second in command from crew ship comes in. Whatever his name was. Waltz, yeah. Captain Waltz. It's like, nice reference. He comes in, and then they have to fight with Genesis, but it's already there. It's completely stable. They're trying to save the people in Genesis, like Kirk to the rescue. Trying to save his kid. Simple as a bird of prey, but then they've got a proper bird of prey. They've got a cloak. They know what they're doing. They're a strong adversary, and then maybe some D7s come in, and then maybe they're reinforced. It's actually a full-on assault to take the planet because there's a new type of dilithium there that will actually, give you warp 9.9, like this is going to change, and the Klingons detected it from space because they're cloaked. The Federation haven't found it yet, and so the Klingons have a fleet of D7s come in, and then the Federation then bring a fleet of their ships, and you see this big space battle at the end. But is this build up from the Genesis planet who've done something great, the small scale, I love my kid, to galactic scale, this will change the galaxy, but no one wins it in the end because they discover it was all a forgery by the Romulans, who launched the Omega Particle weapon, which was from Star Trek New Voyages, New Worlds, the video game, where they launched the Omega Particle and it creates a planet, and then that is going to destroy them all, but then Kirk saves them by going back, no, it doesn't save them, it all gets destroyed. They go back in time via the slingshot, they go back too
like
far.
I need some popcorn.
They go too far, and they save the dad, who knows the secret to the Mega Particle for some reason, because he found it, and then 759 beams in from the relativity, because she's already on the relativity, we know that, because she's in the future.
Stop. That's it. I think this podcast has run its course. lots of possibilities.
Trek 4, Genesis meets Genesis.
You heard it here first, guys. They're going to steal this plotline, and it was all Samuel's idea. There you go. That was fantastic.
Let us know, would you watch that, Stuart?
I'd watch part of that. It got to the point where it's getting a little convoluted. But
anyway. Yeah. I would totally. Let us know if you'd watch that movie in the comments below. Up until the fleets, because the relativity was like, I went on a bit too far. But just that bit was great.
Anyway, guys, I think that's it for this podcast.
Okay.
Lots of speculation about the next movie. As soon as they start filming it, we'll have another podcast about it. So there you go.
Beforehand as well. Probably.
Maybe beforehand, probably. Plus, look forward to stuff from Sean Hargraves on the Yorktown Station from us, Enterprise A, whole bunch of great stuff coming up on lots of great stuff. So, yes. Anything else, Samuel?
Final thought, I liked Beyond.
Me too. I thought it was great, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
And you're going to watch it again and do a full review, I believe?
Yes, I want to watch it at least 2 more times in theaters. Well, at least 1 more, but hopefully 2 more, and then do a review.
Yeah. And let us know if you want me to do a full review as well, because I'll also see it at least once more. Well, I think it's 1 more. I don't think it's only 3 viewing, but once more would be fun. Just to get back in the mind. But yeah, that is it for this week's Trekyards podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed part 2. If you haven't checked out part 1, go check out part 1. It's already there. It's been there for a week. Come on, guys. Come on. And let us know what you think of our thoughts. You guys did an amazing job with the comments at the last podcast. Let us know what you think of our thoughts here. Are there any plot things we missed out on? Any amazingly silly plot holes? Anything you guys saw? Always fun to read, so let us know. And tune in next week for another Trekyards podcast. Don't know what it'll be about, but it'll be something. So until next time, this is Commander Kongs.
I'm Captain Foley, saying see you next time, everybody.
Bye, guys.